Recording in progress.
A warm welcome to you, Dr. Gupta. You can unmute. How are you today?
Good, very good.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you. And the subject that you have chosen today is an amazing one.
I know. I'm so excited about this topic.
Yeah. In terms of,
I mean, sometimes it's similar or greater joy for the one who is talking on a subject. And that's what I felt about this subject.
yeah, there's a joy in giving and sharing. Yeah. But the more important thing is that you are living it, that your life has become.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Makes me very happy, and I see the way you're teaching, how deep you go into the concepts and the organization to serve that you have created. But most of all, what impresses me is your kindness.
Thank you. Thank you.
What I've heard from those who you're teaching, that kindness is there, that caring for their learning, that passion for their understanding, it's there. And I like that. Being a teacher myself, that's beautiful.
Well, I have to say that I can't give enough because how fortunate I am being in this knowledge. And I always feel I can't give enough because so much. And I feel so fortunate to be able to getting this opportunity, talk about it. And it's inexplicable joy when I do it.
Absolutely, but the subject of Ayurveda is so deep, and it would have come from the minds of, just like the rishis, of those who can actually see experience the higher science. And that is what is, it's amazing, that it's coming from a place of truth and a place of wisdom and a place of divinity. That makes the science such an amazing one.
Yes, yeah, you put it very nice words that you are saying about this now. So Nandi, one of your students, you inspired her to become now my student.
Yeah. I'm going to ask her to chat a little bit. Unmute, Nandi.
Namaskar.
Yes. Namaskar. So it's wonderful that you have joined Dr. Gupta. And she's been always studying up Ayurveda. And I've been trying to get her to experience the Ayurveda in a deeper way. Not just a way of learning something, but of realizing something, of really appreciating and being able to also live in the wisdom and consciousness of Ayurveda. So that's what I'm trying to also inspire in her.
Well, it is a great joy and different kind of challenge. To teach someone who is starting learn is easy, and to teach someone who is already advanced in knowledge, it's not that easy. So that's the joy. That's the joy I am getting by teaching Nandi.
Yeah. And also Prema Devi is a student, and I'm trying to get her to continue with the lessons as well.
Right.
Because she is one of the first who expressed that joy of being a student of yours. And and that's how I became very interested in speaking to you a little more.
Thank you.
Because of her.
Yes, I know. I mean, it's interesting how nature organizes, how things come together. We can take the credit. That's the most unfortunate thing. But how nature organizes is God's play, and we are part of it.
Absolutely. Oh, you're part of that. All right. So the Blue Star, are you there? The AV team, are you there? Are we ready, AV team? We have 36 on the board already. I know that will increase. All right. I see the chat is up. Yeah. All right. All good to go. All right. So, Dr. Gupta, namaskar, everyone. Dr. Gupta, I want to formally welcome you again to Be Well, Stay Well series. And it was a joy having you the last time. I think everybody expressed that on the chat and also those who I have spoken with. And I wanted you to come again. I think now the time is appropriate. And I've chosen the subject because the idea of doshas is extremely interesting to me. I'm looking forward to this conversation. And the fact that we are individuals, that is one of the most important things to note. Because in the conventional system, we're not treated in a holistic way. Now are we treated as individuals? And I miss this from the conventional system. And of course, conventional system is still lacking and has to grow more into really realizing all that we are as a spiritual being in a human experience. So I'm looking forward to the whole concept of dosha and the fact that you have chosen it in the light of modern science. I'm extremely interested because it's a passion of mine for bringing the ancient wisdom into modern science. And I absolutely love that of you. And again, I love that you spend time with the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, whom I have the greatest respect for because of his broad way of thinking into the Vastu science and into the Ayurveda and the Gandharva music. So quite an interesting being that he was and continues to inspire the world with it. And the TM, of course, is a marvelous science of meditation that he created then and there. So I was happy that you had such an important stint with that organization. And the fact that you're into natural medicine as well. And you live in the Western world, in Ottawa, in Canada. So that makes it very nice for us that you think in terms of the Western as well. And you've grown up in the Eastern, so you have a good mixture of both. So I want to welcome you today, and all of you, I want to ask you to join me as we center for a few minutes, that we may make the best out of this session today. So let's take a moment just to sit quietly, center in that thought-free space, in a silent mind. Breathing into that and breathing out of that. Nice rhythmic breaths. As you breathe out, just let go of thoughts, let go of all stresses that might be there. And as you breathe in, center into that place of vitality, lovingness, peacefulness, and unity. Open your consciousness to welcome our collective presence. Breathe into the heart, that we may feel that we are in one heart, a universal heart. Welcome everyone by the appreciation of their presence today and opening up your field of consciousness to a collective presence. Just breathe into the gut, that you may keep the body vital, stable, grounded. Observing total being. Welcoming our teacher today. We call the teacher the Doctor of Ayurveda, Vaidyaji. We welcome him today. And let's pray to open up our minds through divine grace, that we may receive all the information presented today. As our presenter tries to communicate with us in a clear and open mind, with a loving heart, and with the intention of staying totally well at every level through the wisdom that we'll get today. Let's thank the powers of the universe for their grace. And let's be appreciative of the human experience, that it allows us to meet on the human plane in human bodies, but with the gift of immortal identities, souls. Asatoma Sadgamaya, lead me from the illusion to the reality. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, lead me from ignorance to truth. Mrichorma Amritam Gamaya, lead me from mortal consciousness to the experience of my soul's immortality. Om Shanti, peace. Shanti, peace. Shanti, peace. Thank you, Vaidya Gupta ji. So we welcome you formally today. The presentation is really yours, and we look forward to a marvelous presentation. So please begin.
I will say the Dhanvantri prayer. Namami Dhanvantarimataivam Surasuraivanditapadipannam Lokaikararukam Bhairatyunasham Dhataramisham Vedadashadhinam. So I am made host already, right? Yes. So welcome everybody. Today's topic is very interesting because we are understanding something that Ayurveda is recognized with, which is dosha, in light of modern science. Not that Ayurveda needs validation, but it gives a good understanding. Somewhere where our civilization became modern, we started thinking that everything needs objective evidence. In real fact, we are our own evidence. Once we witness ourselves, we reach there. We don't need any more evidence. But for the sake of when we need some, it is very interesting that modern science, physics does offer that. And so we will talk about that part today. And before I go into this subject, let me see. So first I will tell you that how this whole talk is laid down. And I want to just caution, because many times you think when Ayurvedic doctor is speaking, we'll get some tips. You will get tips. But also one of the tip is when we have some darkness or not knowing, as Guruji just said in his prayer, Tamso ma jyotirgamaya. So when there is darkness, bring the light. So knowledge is also in a way tip. True knowledge, complete knowledge is also in a way tip. It brings light. So some of the knowledge here will be more conceptual, and at the end, there will be some things to apply right away. So we will understand and we will apply. And the topics are here, you can see on the screen. Let me just enlarge this. Okay, yeah. Okay, so first one, we will try to understand how unmanifest. Uh, all of you might remember this Sankhya process of creation. Sankhya is one of the branch of Vedic science, and which very beautifully laid down and is even relevant today, and it's even proven by modern physics, most advanced modern physics. And what is in there is the eternal process of creation. So the first part of the talk will be focused on that. Then we will understand 5 elements, Ayurvedic view, and 5 elements and dosha, modern view. And then we will understand the application of these elements and dosha to understand balance and imbalance. And then we will talk about the dinacharya, focusing on this balance of dosha. So that's what we will talk, and I will go into detail of dinacharya right from the time waking up in the morning till we go to bed. If time permits, I might also talk about seasonal routine, so which is ritucharya. At the end, we will leave some time for question and answer. I have kept 1.5 hours because I have a client exactly at 3 o'clock our time. So I'll try to finish everything. If something is left, then we might take in another talk, but I'm hoping that I can finish it. So here we can see, and everything will be related to modern science. So I will bring that concept. So Sankhya, he has actually explained this beautiful process of how creation happens. In the modern science, before we were talking about atom is the minutest or smallest particle, and now actually they have grown further, subatomic particles. But Sankhya explained that process thousands of years ago, and they didn't start with molecule or particle. They started with consciousness. So they started from when it is not even manifest, but has potential to manifest. And that it gives very deep understanding of that, how that potential of energy and material interacts and the whole process starts. So this is what you can see here is the eternal process of creation. And this eternal process of creation is happening because it is eternal. That means it has to happen all the time, even at this moment. And it has to happen in the smaller than the smallest, which means if we go in the body and we go in deep within ultimately nucleus and then into DNA and then, so even at that level, and it happens all the time, eternally continuing, even at the galactical level. So in the smaller than the smallest, the greater than the greatest, this process is happening, which is explained. You can see here the next verse in Sanskrit. Navo bhavati jayamana. Navo means renewal, and bhavati means happening. So renewal is happening all the time. Our body cells, bone cells, stomach cells, even DNA, everything is renewal. So then the thing is that what maintains is the memory. And so from that perspective, this the third line here, which says Srishti, which means creation. The whole creation, the universe and everything in it. And Utpatti means origin, Kram means sequence. So sequence of creation. And first thing, ultimately, from what it is, everything comes out of nothing. And nothing, when we say the word, Sanskrit word for that is avyakta. So vyakta means manifest, but means infinite. So it's infinite. So it's not captured in some boundaries. And the correspond to that in the most modern physics is unified field. Quantum field. Quantum physics explains that unified field. And that, what is the purpose of actually understanding all of this? When we understand this, we reach to a point of realizing, this ultimate realization. Aham Vishwam. I am universe. This is the realization that we have to, if we reach there, we reach to the point of equanimity. Established all the time. So then here, in this you can see the deepest and ultimate questions that every one of us come across at some point in our life. There are many, but there are two that I have pointed. One of them is who we are. The words that we said before, Aham Vishwam, I am the universe. Aham Vishwam, I am the universe. So that means sometimes we get into this wrong perception, I am this body or in this body. And that can create so many conflicts, confusions, and so many negative emotions. Because then we start seeing everything within that boundary, and someone is not doing something to us that is pleasant, we start blaming. Here starts all kinds of emotions of jealousy, anger, hatred, all of that. That's why it is important that if we come to that realization, Aham Vishwa, that is me, I am that. If you come to that realize, that's the purpose. What is the purpose of life? You can see here, for some reason, this thing is coming. So, expansion of happiness. What is the purpose of life? My spiritual guru, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, he gave this. It's beautiful. Expansion of happiness. We all get happy. But expanding it to the point where it doesn't fade away no matter what change comes. And that's what is the purpose. But that ultimate purpose only comes once we realize Aham Vishwa. So nothing takes it away. It's all light, no darkness. And this is what is the deepest question, and these are the answers. But how these answers come into living. And that's what is Ayurveda. And some of the things based on which, because this happiness is experience. Experience where? In the body. That's what Ayurveda says. Sarva manyat parityajit shariram anupale. Leave everything aside. You have to keep body healthy. Then you can experience happiness. If you have so many kinds of illnesses, things, attention will go there, the happiness will be compromised. So that's why now we will focus in the next slides is how Ayurveda sees this body and what does it offer and what is explanation or correspondence of that in modern science. How does that explain? So unmanifest to manifest. It's twofold, two things. In the unmanifest, from Sankhya, which explains the eternal process of creation. There is Purusha and Prakriti. Sankhya says there are two elementary particles. They are not really particles. One is just a factor, we can say, of intelligence. So Purusha, energy. But it is at that level that it's not moving, has potential to move. And this move, modern physics explains as spin, just beginning spin. Think of a particle just static, and it's just reverberate. And first thing that happens is the spin, origin of spin. So in these two fundamental things, there are spin that modern physics explains as the source of creation. But they are opposite. There are two. So that means they are opposite. They are fundamental. So they are opposite. Now the question is, if they are opposite, how can creation happen? Now here, again, existence of opposites is fundamental to growth. You would think opposite means conflict. But opposites are there everywhere. But if they are complementary and work in sync, they sustain. Think about, we have parasympathetic system and parasympathetic. We have something for heart to systole, another just opposite to diastole. We have something that brings breath in, some things that go out. Something that stops the sweating when we need to keep the hydration level in our body, and some things that stimulates the sweating. These are opposites. But if they work in sync, completely aware of total balance within homeostasis, and then they stimulate or they keep quiet, that means it is only going to help sustain life and growth. So here is the existence of opposites is fundamental to growth. In this case, creation. So for that, Sankhya explained Purusha and Prakriti. And just to understand, Prakriti, Kriti is creation, constitution, and Pra, so balanced creation. Kra is creation. Interestingly, the word even matches in English. Creation, Kriya. So one is responsible for movement, but it cannot move on its own. It needs another factor that has potential to move, but cannot move on its own. So even energy, in order to express, the electricity has to go through a sequence and get into fan or lamp or computer. On its own, it cannot express. If it goes through the fan system, then it moves fan. So that means energy has potential to move, but does not move on its own. And matter has potential to move, but it needs something for it to initiate that process. This is explained in quantum physics as boson and fermion. These are two factors that are explained fundamental at this moment. It may change later on, but at this moment, boson particle, fermion particle are the two, and they have different nature. The boson has the function of unifying, unity, and fermion, diversity. So unity in diversity, that's why we call universe, which is the combination of unity and diversity, combination of boson and fermion. And these two have fundamental difference in spin type. One of them is full circle and another one is half. So the half one gives different directions and the full one keeps in one line. So the fermion gives upward direction, downward direction, different kind of directions, and boson just one. And they are together to give a balanced movement. Okay? So the correlation, sorry, I think I moved too fast. Okay. Here. So all matter, we know this from Ayurvedic perspective or from modern perspective. Ayurvedic perspective, we always know. There is a quote which says, Sarvam Dravyam Panch Bhautikam. You see here, all matter is 5 elemental. Sarvam means all, Dravyam means matter, Panch means 5, and Bhautikam means element. So, and these are tanmatras, and then they form into elements, bhutas. So they are 5 here. So you can see here Akash, Vayu, Tejas, Jal, and Prithvi. So from totally moving infinite, then gradually that movement starts coming down, and ultimately at the Prithvi level is just static. So from moving to static. Okay, and you can see here the elements in the modern physics. It's a 2 spin type, 3 by 2 spin type, 1 spin type, half spin type, and ultimately Prithvi on its own is just total static, no spin type. So this means no movement. Okay. So here we will try to understand a little bit of the spin type. Basically, you can, to keep it very simple, something static and just starting, just pulsating. And that pulsation in physics called spin. This could be complete spin or it could be just partial, fractional spin. Correlation of 5 elements and 5 fundamental spin types of quantum physics as unified field manifest into energy and matter. You can see here the correlation of Vyakta, Purusha, and Prakriti. Unified field, energy, matter, and the ultimate of that is boson and fermion. Spin is intrinsic property of 2 classes of elementary particles. Boson, which, as you can see here in this, it is starting with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Okay, but for movement or direction or space and time, you can see here, it has to go upwards, downwards, or transverse, right? That comes from different property elementary particle called fermion. So you can see here half, 3 by 2, 5 by 2, like that. So half, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, like that. Okay. So bosons create coherent state, as I was saying, unity. So bosons have that fundamental nature of coherent state. And fermion do not, but both are necessary for the structure of universe. Uniformity and difference. Both together form universe, expressed universe. So spin type correlate with 5 Mahabhutas here. Once they become expressed completely, then they are Mahabhutas. Before that, they are Tanmatras. This research or article was written by this very famous physicist, Dr. John Hagelin. Right now, he is the president of Maharishi University in Fairfield, and he was actually nominated for Nobel Prize at some point. So he brought this correlation. And Dr. Hari Sharma, he wrote several articles on this same subject. So Vedic science start. Now here is the point here. Why do we need to understand this? As I said before, and same thing is now. Vedic science starts where modern science ends. Vedic science has said, the Sankhya has said this thing of manifestation and 2 particles, Purusha and Prakriti, not now, thousands of years ago. How were they able to tell that? With no equipment, nothing. Because there is a science within. And that is the ultimate science, ultimate source of science. So where modern science ends, Vedic science begins. Internal research starts, and that can happen even without any external equipment. And the limitation of modern science is, I was asking this question to my son, and he was just scratching his head. I said, what limits modern science? The very definition of modern science is that can be verified again and again any part of the world. And that is only possible when something is physical. So modern science limitation is it is only based on physical exploration. Once that bridge happens, then there is a possibility of it expanding. But it has done amazing job reaching to the point of even quantum physics, unified field. It's amazing. And it at some point it might be completely becoming one and only speaking the language of Vedic science. So until then, we have everything there within. So here, Ayurveda starts where modern science, modern medicine ends. Ayurveda is truly holistic. What other things that modern science is still behind or is still working on? So three factors that Ayurveda says, three sutra is understanding cause and diagnosis and treatment. What modern science, for what Ayurveda brings more is things of beyond external factors. External factors as of parasites, bacteria, virus, poisons. These are external factors that are physical, and modern science can verify them and only understand those as a cause. But Ayurveda goes much beyond not just the physical, not just within the body, like digestion and bowel movement and energy and all those things, but even beyond, even to the level of emotional, behavioral, energy as the causative factors of what is happening today. Person might not be able to see them, but they could be there. Then we have the diagnosis of symptoms. Ayurveda considers the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual symptoms. So it's holistic in that sense, not just what can be seen by the blood sample or X-ray or those things. Then we have the treatment part. The herbal, of course, that everyone knows, to the point that many times people think that Ayurveda is herbal medicine. That's very small portion. Energy medicine, spiritual medicine. There's much more to it. I will just keep it there just for the sake of touching on it. That's how Ayurveda is much more. So now actually we will go into these, we will cover the Ayurvedic part of 5 elements, which this might be repeat, so I will go a little bit fast on this. Elements, functions, and physiological correlates. Now, one point that I would like to make here and bring everyone's attention. So then if we see these correlates, what is it that is more in Ayurveda in terms of application? This is an important point. It's fascinating to see that there are correlates by quantum physics of unified field, Avyakta, Purusha, Prakriti, spin types. That's good. But can spin types say what guna it is? Predominant. It cannot. It cannot. It has come to the point of matching this thing, but Ayurveda goes further in terms of application. It mentions the properties or gunas of each of element, and then when elements combine to form dosha, then there are specific gunas for each dosha and functions to each dosha, and symptoms of balance and imbalance. So now we are moving advanced. That understanding is good. What more Ayurveda offers? Now we are going into that. So here you can see like earth here, that it is basically whatever has structure, like in the body. like in the body. So earth represents tissue in our body, bones, muscles, tendons, ligaments, anything that can be sensed, touched. That's earth. Then for particle, take an example of dust or clay powder. And if we have to make some statue out of it, toy out of it, what do we need in that powder? We need to put water in it or any binding material, and that is jala. And then all the particles come together and we can give it a shape. So that is the binding material. We understand that as body fluids to the cellular point and to the even the hair, skin. If someone asked me what is one thing that I would point that triggers the aging process, it is the binding material. That's why wrinkles happen. That's why hair turns gray. That's why receding gums. That's why bones starts getting porous. Right. So all of these things, this moisturizing material, hydration material, binding material, but in terms of element, it is jala, water. Then the third material, so all the body fluids, cerebrospinal fluid, lungs fluid, in the brain, in the heart, all kinds of fluid. At the cellular level, there is a fluids within the cell, outside the cell, intracellular fluid. So all the fluids in the body. Okay. Then we have transforming material. We also need, say, if there is a body, what is the difference between body that is living and that is not living? If you try to put food in the body that is not living, nothing will happen. It will not transform into anything. It will just decay. So there is an element besides earth and water that takes, in order to sustain, there is wear and tear process happening. So we need to replenish. So we have to eat food. And that food, there is third element we can understand, because what happens, whatever food is gone in, it just, we can say, cooks into nourish and then nourish the whole body. So that cooking material or transforming material, we understand that as enzymes and hormones. Physiological correlates are enzymes and hormones, digestive enzymes, tissue enzymes, hormones, different kind of hormones. There is a enzyme and hormone for muscle tissue, for blood tissue, for brain tissue, for bone tissue, for reproductive tissue. There are specific enzymes and hormones. All of those we can say under the fire or cooking material or transforming material. Then we still need, because now the thing is broken down. Food is gone in, physically broken by chewing, stomach mixes it, and then duodenum, it breaks down chemical. Now it is sitting there in the gut. Can it reach to each and every tissue? We need another different element with different properties that was not there in earth, in water, and in fire, and that is movement. Moving factor. So there is this within the gut, there is this pressure, sodium pump, and all kinds of nervous system functions or impulses, gut impulses, the movement of food through the gut, through the heart, breathing, brain function, all of this movement, subtle movement, bigger movements, all of those are controlled by neuroendocrine and particularly nervous system. That's the fourth factor. The last factor is basically where all of these things are going to function. And so for that, the space is thought. And very beautifully, brilliantly, the whole body is structured in such an intricate manner, where there is a small channel needed, where big channel needed, the shape of lungs particularly, shape of stomachs, the shape of heart, everything is the organization of space. You can also call it networking material. We have a piece of land, and we can convert that into a very efficient house by dividing the space in many different ways, for kitchen differently, for bathroom differently, for uh, uh, restroom, drawing room differently, everything just accordingly, all the networking happens. The same thing in our body. And what is the significance, clinical relevance of that? If this networking blocks anytime, even if organs are functioning fine, because of this networking blockage, energy will not flow, disease will occur. So these are 5 fundamental elements. People ask that in chemistry, we had very limited number of elements, and now we have grown to 125, 130. How come it is only 5? Because we are not talking about physical elements through physical significance. It is through functional significance. These 5 fundamental functions needed to sustain life. So we cannot reduce one, we cannot add one. Now here in this one, it is about the elements and the doshas from Ayurvedic perspective, and then following to this, I will explain in modern physics. So 5 elements everyone knows: space, air, fire, water, and earth. Now we talk about dosha. So space and air makes vata. Now percentage, I have just put there some numbers. They can completely vary, right? So please don't get stuck in these numbers. Something could be having fire 60% and water 40%. So the number can vary. There is no book, nothing that is mentioned. For the sake of understanding, our mind has this property that they understand. They get more fixed. Okay, yeah, this is what makes sense. Keeping it vague doesn't help. So vata then in the body manifests as all kinds of movements, blinking of eye, thought process, transportation of different kinds of things, transportation of food, transportation of blood, transportation of message, transportation of urination and bowel function, all kinds of communication you can think about. That's vata. So nervous system is the main thing. And then for pitta, fire and water, and the main functions in the body for pitta, physiological correlates, digestion, all kinds of digestion, physical digestion, breakdown of food, chemical digestion of food, and then after that, once it enters into the blood, it goes to each tissue. So there is specific tissue enzyme and hormone playing, and then formation of plasma, formation of blood, formation of muscle tissue, formation of bone tissue, like all of that. So, and then maintaining the temperature, heat. For water and earth, that makes kapha. The main functions are structure, of course, moistening and lubrication. Wherever there is dryness, means kapha has reduced. So these are 3, you can see here the 5 elements. Then how do we understand in the body? And then what are their functional significance of each of them? So here we will see in this one, again, this was also done by Dr. John Hagelin. And this 3 doshas as a combination of 5 mahabhutas or 5 elements. The 3 doshas are corresponding to 3 superfields. These superfields, you can see here, this gravity superfield, gauge superfield, and matter superfield. Okay, so these, and the correspondence is of 3 doshas is at that level. 3 superfields as combination of 5 now. These 3 superfields or vata, pitta, kapha are combination of mahabhutas or 5 spin types. That's what we will see in this chart. Okay, so you can see here this akasha, space, 2 spin type, okay, and vayu or air, which makes vata, spin type 1.5. And that one comes together, what generates is the force. You can also see this as force field, gravity. Okay, so akasha and vayu, actually they are the one responsible for shabda and sparsha. So shabda is sound, and sparsha is touch. So when movement happens, then we sense it. Without any movement, we don't sense. So they are the source of touch, sensation. And vata nervous system also responsible for all kinds of sensation in our body. In the modern superfield theory, this quantum physics is gravity or force field. Then we go into the tejas of fire and jala. That makes pitta. And this pitta is one spin type is fire and half spin type is water. That makes gauge field, which is we can understand as light, photon, heat, transformation, conversion, in body, digestion, metabolism. Outside in the nature, sunlight, all kinds of things are happening due to sunlight and heat. Fundamentally, that is the function of these two, spin 1 and spin half, gauge field. Thermodynamics. Interestingly, thermodynamics is considered as one of the main causes. Different kind of physics scientists say different things. Thermodynamics at one point was understood as thermo means heat and dynamics means energy. So that is the cause of it. In Charak Samhita, they say Agni Somatmakam as the fundamental interaction where the creation happens. Agni means fire and Somatmakam means soma. Interaction of that is the source of expression. So that is fundamental. Otherwise, other two things are on their own. But this thing, pitta or gauge field, is the fundamental. Electromagnetic field, this is also this area, central. Electromagnetic, thermodynamics. Then we go into the third one, is Jala, which is half spin type, and Prithvi, which is zero spin type. And that's where it becomes static, right? Which we need, matter. Body on its own is matter. Kapha, right? And half spin type and zero spin type. So very little. Interestingly, I will just bring one example here. So when we teach pulse or when we do the pulse, Ayurvedic way of analysis, and we take the pulse, then many times people who are learning it, they say, oh, I feel in the index finger represents vata and middle finger represents pitta and the ring finger represents kapha. And most of the time people will feel easily in the index finger and middle finger, but not feel anything or rarely in the ring finger. And they will say, they will get frustrated. Oh, I don't have kapha. What is happening? Kapha is so important. Well, you can see here, it's just one spin type coming due to Jala. And Prithvi is zero. And what kapha is made up of? Earth and water. So just very, very much movement. So that's why kapha, they don't feel. Only thing when they feel this kapha or movement in the ring finger, when either vata has moved into kapha or pitta has moved into kapha, and then they bring their nature, their movement in that finger. So which means, actually, I will not go into detail of this, that reflects inflammation in lungs or bronchial system. Right? So you can see here that how this nature in terms of spin types corresponds to 5 elements, and the 3 doshas corresponds to these 3 super fields, gravity, gauge field, and matter. So here at this point now, just for the sake of exercise, and start thinking beyond what I presented, this correlation with quantum field, spin types, Purusha and Prakriti, boson and fermion, for the sake of fascination and the brain intellectual understanding, it's all good. When it comes to application, then ultimately we have to come back to Ayurvedic information. So far, all these spin types have not been explained in terms of gunas. But 5 elements and doshas in the text are mentioned in terms of gunas. And that's where comes the application. For in day-to-day life, for common man, they can understand what are the properties of milk, what are the properties of banana, what are the properties of spices, and this is in terms of properties or attributes. Modern science has still a way to go to reach there. So here is starts now. We'll start with this exercise. Usually I ask audience. I don't know if we can do that. If I ask the question and you answer those questions, is there a possibility that I ask this very very basic exercise, but it will get just more engaging? Can I do that, or just keep going?
Ajaya, can we do that? Can we ask questions? We have done it in the poll, no?
It's okay, then I will keep moving.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah, she said we can, but we'll have. What would you like to ask Dr. Gupta?
I think we just keep moving, because then it will just take away some time.
She said,
I may have to leave out some materials. So we just
sure. Okay, go ahead.
So here you can see in this integrative exercise. Now think in terms of, this is the important part of applying Ayurveda. So when we talk about Vata, what exactly are we talking about? When we say about Vata property, what are we thinking? We have to think in terms of 5 elements. So when we say Vata, what it is made up of? It is made up of air and space, right? So air and space will make Vata, air and space and no fire. Will it make Vata hot or cold? It will make it cold, no fire. Because of air and space and no water, will it make it oily or dry? Obviously, the oiliness comes from water, so it will be dry. Because of no earth in Vata, it's air and space, no earth, will it be heavy or light? Obviously, heaviness comes from earth, so it will be light. So that means more the things that we see outside, which are more airy, like say cornflakes, chips, these will be light, increasing Vata. Right? Okay, now we go into Pitta. So what Pitta is made up of? Is mostly fire and a little bit of water. So there is a little bit of water. So because of fire and water, will it be hot or cold? Obviously hot. Will it be oily or dry? Now, yeah, we cannot say it will be oily because water is only 10%, but we can say slightly oily. Will it be heavy or light? There is no earth, so it will be light. But what is the difference? It is hot, slightly oily, and light. Okay? Then we go into Kapha. It is made up of earth and water and different combinations, right? Like say if we are thinking of beef over chicken, there will be different properties, different combination of earth and water. Same thing if we think of buffalo milk or cow milk over goat milk. Buffalo cheese or cow cheese over goat cheese. So the kapha will be, they still will have kapha, but different proportions. We have to, in terms of application, we have to think which one is lighter. Even if something is listed in kapha diet, doesn't mean all of them will have same kapha increasing or decreasing properties. This is the true application. Okay? So kapha having no fire, it will be hot or cold. Obviously cold. It will be oily or dry. Obviously oily. It will be heavy or light. It will be heavy. So the kapha properties are, I have just limited it to 6 for the sake of quickly moving in the exercise. So heavy, oily, and cold are the properties of kapha. In terms of application, say if there is a vata food, say rice flakes or corn flakes, and if we have to, if kapha or vata person has to eat it, but they are vata increasing, what we will do? We will bring some oiliness. So if we can cook that with some ghee and put some spices that are vata pacifying, it becomes eatable and balancing even for vata. Right? Say if there is eggplant, pitta cannot eat it because it is hot and dry. But if we cook it with some of the spices, coriander, cumin, fennel, mint, and some good oil, olive oil, then even pitta can eat moderately. So this is the application. Okay. Now this is another thing that Ayurveda always brings, and this is where modern science or modern medicine still have to go. Ayurveda says that every person is unique. All of us have 5 elements, all of us, all the 3 doshas. But what puts us either in one category or another category? For that, I will not go into detail of this. I have repeated this last time also. Quickly, just for the reference sake, I will say, so Prakriti or constitution or body-mind type. So Prakriti, then there are 3 different categories. One is person is clearly monodosha type. We can look at his skin, height, body frame, the way person talks, walks, the preferences of person, very clearly either vata type, pitta type, kapha type. Or person can be combination. So vata pitta type, vata kapha type, pitta kapha type. That's bidosha type. And then tridosha type, almost all the 3 doshas same. These are 3 categories. In my experience, traveling across the world, bidosha is the highest percent. Okay. So you can see in this diagram, monodosha type, clearly vata, see here, or clearly pitta, or clearly kapha. But remember, it also has other 2 doshas. And in the bidosha type, you can see here, so vata pitta type, pitta kapha type, vata kapha type. Okay. And in the tridosha, so all vata, pitta, kapha, all 3, almost same percent. Now, the trick only is when someone is vata and pitta, then what do they eat? Or someone is pitta kapha. It's just opposite. Being pitta, you are supposed to eat more cooling spices and cooling foods and avoid heat. And kapha actually just the opposite. So that is whole another subject. How do we deal with it? I cannot really cover that subject here. I will focus more on the dinacharya specifically for this time. Okay. Okay. Most important message here: you may be vata, you may be pitta, you may be kapha, you may be vata pitta, and then you think, oh, why I am not kapha like? Because vata people always stressed, having problem with sleep, so they, and kapha people just touch the pillow and they are gone. So then vata people think, why I am not like kapha? Or kapha people very easily, they smell food and they gain weight. They complain, how I am not like vata, or how I am not like pitta. Pitta people, they have very good intelligence, very sharp, good digestion, good metabolism, but always frustrated. If they are boss, hire and fire is their job. And most of the time it is fire. So they are very easily getting angry. They get irritated. So everyone has something positive and negative. But most important thing is enjoy being who you are. And you can stay healthy no matter what dosha type or what combination you are. Whatever you have is the blessing. And you can stay healthy. That's the beauty of Ayurveda. Because Ayurveda offers a personalized program. Now we'll a little bit briefly understand balance and imbalance. How are we doing time-wise? What's time right now? I cannot see on my computer because it's full screen.
2:31, Dr. Gupta, 2:31.
2:31. Okay, so we have half an hour. Good. So I will try to wrap up in 15 minutes so that I can leave some time. Let us see.
All right, sounds good.
So here in this case, just you can see that Vata balance, nice, cool breeze, very nice. Or imbalance, you can see thunderstorm. In the body, in the joints, you can see the swelling, stiffness. So that is imbalance, Vata. Good Pitta, nice, sunrise, sunset, very good light, warmth. Out of balance, you can see this wildfire. In the body, you see this inflammation in the throat or in the stomach or in the heart valves. Okay. And the kapha, very good, nice lakes, falls, water. Out of balance, you can see the floods. In the body, retention of fluid, edema. Just a little bit of some understanding of how Vata balance look like and Vata imbalance in the nature and the body. Now, don't get confused with this whole picture. I just try to show, this is another thing that Ayurveda actually brings beautifully. It's more advanced topic, but I thought to just point on this. Ayurveda explains about that there are 6 stages of imbalance and first 3 stages. So 6 stages are, we have dosha balance everywhere in the lungs, in the stomach, everywhere, dosha balance. And then what happens, we eat something wrong, we eat something very spicy, and then what happens, spicy resembles to pitta. So pitta starts accumulating more than normal. We continue that food, eating that kind of food. So this accumulation stage here, you can see, is accumulating. This is the vessel I have shown, and this accumulating. In the stage 2, body actually tells the symptoms of accumulation in the beginning stage. But if we are not connected, if we are not in touch, we will keep doing the same thing, keep eating the same thing. The body gave us first opportunity to stop it right there by avoiding the food that are increasing it and eating the opposite to reduce it. We did not know, or no one told us, or we don't have knowledge. We made the pitta dosha go into next stage, which is stage 2. We call it aggravation. And still at this point, it is just in its own seat. So say if it is in the stomach or if it is in the lungs, but only in its own seat, right? But if we did not focus at that point, what happens now? Now it is full and it is overflowing. Third stage of imbalance. We call it dissemination, spreading. But right until this time, it was only dosha symptoms, not disease symptoms. Very easy to treat until this point. And from here on, now it is circulating in the body. Wherever it finds a weak spot, then a weak spot is in one or another tissue or organ. So now the organic imbalance with respect to what dosha, in this case pitta, in say in the lungs or in the throat or in the sinuses. So pitta in the lungs, lung inflammation. Pitta in the throat, throat congestion. Pitta in the sinus, sinus congestion. Sinusitis, pharyngitis, bronchitis, right? And then once, this is the 4th stage, we call it localization. Increased dosha got localized. Then it goes into molecular imbalance, so that the whole organ is now inflamed and losing its ability to perform healthy function. Now disease is fully manifested. And the last stage, 6th stage, is complication. Now it is not only just that organ. That organ is not able to contribute towards maintaining balance. Now other organs that were dependent on this organ's performance or function, so it can carry on the next level. Now that function, because heart is supposed to play its function, it's not playing. So that's why it puts overburden on the kidneys, overburden on the pancreas. So now it is complicated stage, advanced stage. But Ayurveda offers solutions at each stage according to dosha. This is the practical point of this slide. Now, where do we start? Self-check guide. Where am I right now? Is any particular dosha or all doshas are balanced or out of balance? And then once we know this, say if it is pitta out of balance, kapha out of balance, vata out of balance, simple. There are easy measures for vata balancing diet, exercises, yoga, breathing. All of that is available in detail. Here is a simple way to keep in touch with your current condition. Okay. So living in tune with nature's rhythm. Nature's rhythm. Now here I'm talking about day and night, circadian rhythm. Okay. Eternal recipe to stay healthy and prevention. Okay. You might be familiar this from last talk also. Rhythm and cycles is fundamental of continuum. Different kinds of cycles. There is heart cycle, there's menstrual cycle, lung cycle, oxygen carbon dioxide cycle, brain cycle. Everywhere there is cycle, and there is a rhythm in between. Breathing in, breathing out, that's one cycle, one cycle. But they have to be in sync with Yatha Pindi Tatha Brahman. We have to be in sync. We cannot think that the breathing happening, cardiac cycle happening, menstrual cycle happening, they are on their own. They do get affected by the changes happening in the nature. And one of the change in the nature is day and night, circadian rhythm. Another one is seasonal rhythm. Even bigger than that is the solar cycle. Okay, we go into astrology, Jyotish, and that. So here I will try to touch only on circadian rhythm. So what is it that actually circadian rhythm or sun-moon cycle affects human system? The studies have shown there is a master clock in each one of us. About 20,000 nerve cells make up your master clock. A part of your brain is called suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN. This is the nucleus in brain, literally. Sunrise, light comes, it clicks. Right? It becomes active. This is structure which sits inside an area called hypothalamus, everyone must be familiar, controls your circadian rhythm. And we say our circadian rhythm means our response to, right? So when do we wake up? When do we sleep? When do we have more energy? When do we have an urge for bowel function? When we feel hungry? All of that. Now this is again the modern science validation. Nobel Prize for 27 for medicine. The subject was molecular mechanism controlling circadian rhythm. This is the thing here. They went down to the molecules that are changing within the animals, plants, and the human system. And they measured and recorded the response. These are three doctors, Jeffrey Hall, Michael Roche-Bosch, and Michael W. Young. And what they showed here in many different ways, this is one of the ways, is you can see, and we all of us see this all the time in our home. We have some plant and we see that they move in the direction of sun. Photosensitive. So you can see in the daytime, all of these leaves are just, and then in the nighttime, they are blue. Resting phase. See, right? So now what did they say? The circadian clock or master clock affects the physiology, different phases of the day. They affect different kinds of functions. Some of them are listed here. So sleep pattern, so which means the trigger of getting into yawning, feeling slow, sluggish, feeling like going, cannot do much work, that kind of thing. Feeding behavior, feeling hungry, appetite, be able to digest, less hungry, hormone, different kinds of hormone release. Melatonin, which is sleep hormone, is more in the night time around 10 o'clock. Blood pressure is more particularly during the day. Body temperature. So all of these things get affected by circadian clock, master clock. In this diagram, you can see here, this is 12 o'clock during the daytime, best coordination, fastest reaction time. So if you choose to do the activity that requires more of this is the best time. High alertness, you can see here, 10 o'clock, this is high alertness, right? Fastest increase in the blood pressure during this time, you can see here. High temperature, and then in the evening time, you can see highest blood pressure here. Melatonin secretion, you can see this around 10 o'clock. So 9, 10 o'clock, naturally, many of you might know, when you go to see the doctor and you complain about not getting good sleep, insomnia, go to bed and then toss and turn on the bed for 1 hour, 2 hours, and then what do they give? The first thing is they give melatonin to set the clock, but it is already there in our body. I have seen this by traveling. This is one of the disease all across the world, not getting good sleep. And most of the time I was able to help them by just changing the time they go to bed. And according to Ayurveda, 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock AM and PM is kapha time. And kapha is heavy, so it brings us sleep. So if you go to bed, particularly around 9:30, 9 o'clock, you will have longer deep sleep hours and you will wake up fresh, right? And so this is deep sleep hours. You can see here 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock. These are deep sleep hours, but if you go in time, okay? And so this is something that shows the correlation. So with this self-check, you are well on your way to taking the charge of your daily wealth. Okay. Now here, just quickly, I think I have done this before, so I will quickly say, it's basically dosha in circadian rhythm. So you can see here, 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, AM and PM is kapha. Oh, sorry. So this one and this one, 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, AM and PM is kapha. So more kapha activities, okay? Not the resting activities, not the sleep, and not too much eating during this time. That will increase kapha. Those who are having problems of weight, overweight, particularly, they have to take less during this time. Okay, eat less, eat light. Okay, now here, this 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock AM and PM, that is more pitta. Okay, so particularly any activity related to digestion, food, appetite during this time. Okay, and then vata, you can see here, is 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock AM and PM, more dynamic activity. So if you will wake up early around, say, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, that's the best time. People ask this, when should I do yoga? This is the best time. The meditation experience is best during this time. And any yoga exercise is good in this time. Or any kind of study, you grasp more and you retain more during this time. This is doshas in the season. So you can see here in the summer, more pitta. So you have to eat more cooling foods, not very spicy foods. And vata, winter, then that's where you can eat actually more spicy and more oily and dairy. This is the time. Kapha time, avoid dairies, more exercise and cleanse. So the real value of this seasonal rhythm is that at the cusp of season, summer to winter, it's a cleansing time. And winter to spring, cleansing time. Spring to summer, cleansing time. So Ayurveda recommends 3 times seasonal cleanse. What you do is whatever dosha has accumulated in the season, like summer pitta, in the winter vata, and spring kapha, you get rid of increased dosha, and then you take some rasayanas, some good herbal supplements to build up your immunity. And that way you can prevent seasonal disorders. This is the cycle for life cycle. So until the age of 20, say 20 is the kapha predominant, then there is the phase where pitta is building up, accumulating, and then pitta is until, you can see here, like 50, and then it is vata also accumulating, and then rest of the age is vata. So which means that, say, if you are in this range of vata phase, even if you were pitta before, so even if you're born prakriti, your janma prakriti is pitta. But if you are in vata phase, you have to adapt according to that particular phase. Right? So that's the value of knowing your dosha type. Just the fact that you were told that you are more pitta at the age when you were around 30, and now you are 60, so you think that you have to still follow that. No. So this is the adaptation also according to age, keeping your dosha type in mind. Now here is some of the relationship of this correlation. This is done by Dr. Hari Sharma. And you can see here, let me just move this first. Okay. So in this is the DNA, cellular healing and epigenetics. This is the latest thing. Sorry about that. This is the latest research that how dinacharya and ritucharya and body constitution is a fluid thing, not fixed thing. And you can see here that there are two strands at the chromosome and DNA level. There are two strands. So this one strand is more quieter, or you can say purusha. And this second strand, which is more prakriti, which is the dynamic one. Both are there. Both are there. Purusha and prakriti both are there. But the prakriti and purusha have to be in sync. With the interaction of that, first thing that is coming in these two, there are 4 different chemicals in there, 4 different ones, each they have. Now with the interaction, first thing that happens, that comes, if we try to understand in terms of 3, then it is sattva, rajas and tamas. So tamas is more static, this is more dynamic, and this is just the potential. If we think in terms of, so what is our activity and this interaction happening in the nucleus in DNA, then after that the response, now the response is coming out of DNA through the nuclear membrane into the cell, out of the cell. The first thing that comes is mRNA, messenger RNA. So it has the transcription, is called messenger. So which means this is what is bringing the information, vata. Then this gets transformed into tRNA, transfer RNA, right? And that is again getting converted into a specific protein, the specific message, specific action, right? So mRNA to tRNA to protein. This has the nature of vata, nature of pitta, nature of kapha. Because this protein is going to go in the muscle tissue, in the bone tissue, in the heart tissue, in the brain tissue, and then it will deliver a specific message, a specific action, convert into that protein. So this is action. This one is action, right? Or we also call it karma or action. And this action is coming straight from genetics. That's why we call it epigenetics. And it's fluid. It's getting affected as I am talking to you. This information is going through your ears, into your brain, into your each and every cell, and leaving some kind of impact, even to the DNA level. And then your DNA will generate a response to it, and that will give a specific kind of reaction, formation. So here you can see this. This is genotype here, and this genotype can be affected by phenotype. Phenotype is more like our dosha type. Ayurvedic constitution is phenotype. So this makes the phenotype. This thing here makes the phenotype. Can you see the arrow moving? Are you able to see the arrow moving?
Yeah, we can do.
Okay. Yeah. And then, so you can see what are the things that actually affect this. Let me just move this thing here. Yeah. So affected by lifestyle and behavior. What do we eat? When do we eat? How much do we eat? When do we sleep? When do we do yoga exercise? Breathing, diet and nutrition, stress management, and environmental factors. All of these things affect this genotype. This is the science of epigenetics that is coming, the latest subject in modern medicine. So here now, I hope I have another 5 or 10 minutes. I will quickly go through.
Yeah, you do. Go ahead.
Okay, so here, morning routine, dincharya. First thing, wake up during the vata time. Many times people wake up 7, 8 o'clock and they say, oh, I feel tired. It's not necessarily tiredness of some physical imbalance. You are waking up in kapha time, so kapha qualities are predominant. And that's why you don't wake up fresh. If you wake up before 6, so I'm not saying exactly at 6. It can be a little bit here and there, but if you wake up around, say, 6 o'clock, 5:30, you will have better energy. Nature is quiet, air is clear, the birds are just waking up, so it's natural, okay? And then elimination. The seat of vata is the colon, and this is vata time. The easiest thing for elimination, and it should be around that time. And actually in this research also they proved that the valve of the colon, the rectum, is awake and active around that time. So the easiest thing and natural thing is to have bowel function in the morning. If you have to help it, you can have a cup of hot water with some lemon, honey. Now, sometimes these things float. Oh, this is very good. And everyone starts doing that. But it is not necessary that everyone can have lime and hot water and honey. For pitta people, it's not the best. For kapha people, it is the best. For vata people, add in a little bit of ghee in it, not honey, but ghee in it. Okay? And some basil tea, that kind of thing. For pitta, I would suggest more of this room temperature water. That should be enough. They don't even need anything because first thing in the morning, they have very good bowel movement. They don't need anything. But if you have to drink just plain room temperature water, should be fine. Do some exercise. It could be yoga. It could be breathing, necessarily meditation. Cleaning the mouth and tongue. This is one of the things. We have 6 taste buds in our tongue. Are they only to enjoy the food? Nature didn't make it for that purpose. Nature made it because our digestion starts in the mouth. There are 2 phases of digestion: cephalic phase or brain phase, and digestive tract phase. So the brain phase is triggered by what? It is triggered on the tongue. How? If we chew the food and if the food is exposed to taste buds, when they will not be exposed to taste buds, if it is already coated. In the morning time, there is higher chance of tongue being coated. If it is coated and you did not remove it through the tongue cleaning, then food will not expose, the food molecules will not expose to taste buds. If it is not tasted, sweet, sour, salt, whatever, there is a taste center in the brain. Once it goes into the gut, there is no taste bud. So that means if it has to be chewed properly, and then tongue has to be clean. So that's why Ayurveda recommends using the tongue cleaner. It can be copper, it can be steel, preferably. I mean, also some people do it with brush, but there is not the best chances that everything will come out. So tongue cleaner, very important. Very gently go into the back and gently push it to outwards. Okay, couple of times, and that should be good. Ayurvedic herbalized oil massage, Abhyanga, very, very important. Skin is most spread out, inside out organ. And the best way, and that's also seat of Vata. So to control Vata, to control good skin health, circulation, musculoskeletal tissue, all of that, just one technique. Apply oil, whole body. If you can do it every day, that's best. Benefits of daily Abhyanga are increased radiance on the skin and skin health, improves circulation, improves mobility, and most of it is you touch yourself, your healing touch to yourself. Of course, this is the Surya Namaskar. All of you might know asanas, sun salutation, pranayam, meditation, and then breakfast. Now, breakfast for kapha has to be light. Kapha has to be, it can be some ginger tea or some spice tea, and maybe very little, some fruit would be fine for kapha. For pitta, they need to have good breakfast. And for vata, some kind of cooked fruits with some ghee and some cinnamon, some cardamom with some ghee, that will be good. Okay. Lunchtime, best according to Ayurveda, because it is pitta time. So best is main meal, lunch. Okay. And after, make sure people ask this question, how much to drink? For vata, have to drink half an hour after. If they feel thirsty or dry, they can drink a little bit. For kapha, they can drink before. And for pitta, frequent sipping. Okay? But not too much. Ice cold water, not at all. Digestion is optimum in body temperature. You drink ice cold, any drink, it reduces the temperature. It does not make enzymes very effective, even if they are there. For evening routine, light dinner, it can be some soup, some vegetable soup, some like asparagus soup, and little bit of grain, can be basmati rice cooked with the turmeric and cumin. Okay, and then go for a walk. Sit in diamond posture right after 5 or 10 minutes of walk. Don't engage in the night in something that will stimulate you, that will bring you outwards. Some relaxing thing, even if you watch TV, some relaxing thing to facilitate naturally slipping into sleeping state. Okay. So this is seasonal routine. Maybe I think time-wise, I should stop here and take the questions.
Yes, Dr. Gupta. But thank you for enlightening lecture. I think we'll need to study this a little more, and we'll have to bring you back to talk more on this, where we can ask you questions. I absolutely love this subject. And I think because of the deep scientific nature that you took, the approach that you took, I love it, absolutely love it, because that's my background. But for those who are listening who may not have the science with them, we'll need to explain that in different ways. So it would be best when they ask the questions, because I think this information is vital, understanding the body types. And I think what you can do for us is give us the little test, one that you normally would offer, so that everybody before the next lecture, they can understand what body type they may have or mixture. But I think this is extremely important. I love the routine, and I also love the whole idea of understanding our dosha type and learning to relate to life and lifestyle from that. So I think
we so maybe next subject we can keep on just the dosha type. Absolutely. And what can be done for that.
Absolutely, I totally agree. But here I want to leave it open. You can take off you can stop sharing now so we can see everybody. You can so let's look at the yeah. So I'm sure that some of you may have questions at this stage, and we'd like to field those questions. So please ask Dr. Gupta your question. Feel free. He's most accommodating. I know you'll find it a little bit intimidating because of the subject and how it was approached, but it's an amazing approach. I know if you go back and study it a little bit, you will understand it even more. But those of you who have the scientific background, or those of you who understand the doshes a little bit and can help to bring out more of the subject, please do. All right, let's take Dahlia. Dahlia is from Montreal. Namaskar, Dahlia.
I have a question regarding the morning drink. You said that, if I got this correctly, that it's good to have a warm drink with either lemon or honey. And if one is, I believe you said kapha, it's good to add oil to it.
No, the other way. For vata can add ghee, and for kapha no ghee.
For kapha no ghee. Okay. What if one is kapha vata?
Yeah, that's a little bit challenging. Because I cannot make one recipe here because there could be some confusion. I don't know the combination. Person's judgment could not be accurate. So I don't want to give any recipe at this point.
Okay.
I do agree with that very much. Personal judgment without real experience can make you misinterpret what your doshas might be. So it's more important to really understand the subject more. So thank you, Dr. Gupta. Anybody else? Don't feel that your question will be too petty. It wouldn't be. Yeah, Tina? Yeah, can you unmute? Unmute. You can unmute.
Okay, got it. Hello.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. I just loved it. Quick question. Is there a dosha that leans more towards arthritis?
Vata.
Vata. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So vata causes the pain, and stiffness with pain is due to kapha, and inflammation with pain due to pitta, and dryness or cracking sound with pain due to vata.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right. Anything that you would like to see Dr. Gupta treat with the next time he comes on? Anything that you would like Dr. Gupta to treat with the next time he comes on?
I think Teresa was raising her hand, but she disappeared. That's okay.
Yeah, there are some hands. Okay, Dr.
Jenny, I think Jenny is raising her hand.
Yeah, yes, Jenny. Dr. Gupta knows you now from the last time.
Yeah, you remembered me. And namaskar to both Dr. Gupta and Guruji. In this pandemic world, and first and foremost, it was a fascinating presentation, first and foremost. I learned so many things. My brain is kind of swirling still. In the world of pandemic, and particularly with vaccines, the impact, effect of vaccines, irrespective of what brand, on this system, because clearly we are designed.
There's someone at the door, please hold on.
Sure.
Yeah, great questions, Jenny. Absolutely great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he answers this one. Because
I don't want a hurried answer. because, you know, it's something to contemplate.
Yeah,
Because
I'm sure that he may give us an informed answer.
Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, that's fine. We waited. I didn't continue speaking. In this vaccine versus and the pandemic, I want to know, based on now that we know so much more of our phenotype, our genotype, and this miraculous set of systems that are working in some instances in a symbiotic way, almost like how we need good parasites and whatever. When we get this vaccine that is deliberately now inserting an alien agent, an extraneous agent that the body doesn't know about and has to react. This is for your next lecture, not for today necessarily. And it is still defying science. Even the scientists now are like muddling through, because I'm even seeing for those who got 2 vaccinations, they're still now looking that it may need a 3rd booster. So they are keeping moving in accordance to the variants now of the original COVID. What impact is that having on this, very meticulously, very calibrated system that we are walking around with all of these systems flowing and interacting, and then engaging with the very environment that is producing the variants and the viruses. And we are kind of in a void, because, you know, I am not hesitant anymore, but I am going with what my intuition is guiding me to say whether the timing, and look at how you brought it down to even the circadian cycle and rhythm, and at what particular time I just trust that whenever now my name is down, I have the appointment and I'm going, whether at what rhythm is that from a environment, and in my internal environment, is that the right time? Do I sense that only intuitively and say, you know what, go brave and take it? I am now putting that in the context of all that you have now laid out for us, which is fantastic. I leave that for
all right, I would like to get his comments on that. Yeah, Dr. Gupta.
Well, I have to say, in this kind of situation, I am asked this question all the time. And what I am doing everything to make internal system strong.
Correct.
Eat right, keep digestion good, immunity.
Correct. Right.
And I'm not supposed to speak anything that can go against.
Right.
But at least I am very clear what I can do and what I cannot do to disturb this balance. Right. And trust what we are doing with general sense of well-being. You can know that. No one can know better. And you can know earliest than any machine or any doctor can detect. Now, when it comes to the vaccination or all these kinds of booster dose and all of that, if it is necessary for traveling, that's totally different subject, because it's not under your control. When it comes to effect on the DNA, you are putting something inside. This is because any vaccine or anything comes after vigorous, extensive research of several years. Right? So right now, I would say that it is very hard to say. There are all kinds of data coming. There is in favor of it, that whenever it is given, then the number of people positive are coming less. So there is that in this favor.
Right.
Negative outcomes only next 10, 20, 30, 40 years will tell.
Right.
I don't know if by that time it will be too late, or
Exactly.
not, we don't know.
Exactly. Correct.
Right?
Oh,
In its favor, all the countries are showing that when some percentage of people are getting vaccinated, then
Yeah.
the numbers are going down. So it's mostly the conclusion is drawn on numbers.
Right.
yeah, Dr. Gupta, knowing the ingenuity of the human mind, then perhaps in the future a more safe a solution or remedy may come, because nobody would like to think that these untested or little tested solutions be the ultimate solution. So I know that with the creativity of the human mind, we may find other methods that will be more holistic to deal with this, and I look forward to that.
Yeah.
But I know that,
And I think that's the most important take from this.
yeah.
That we have to start trusting and feel empowered and take the charge.
Because I believe there's a plant substance almost for every disease that we can have. And I believe cleansing the human system is extremely important and keeping it clean. And I also believe that when we lose that lifestyle balance, nature is going to punish us in ways like these.
Correct.
So it's more important to understand how to go back to lifestyle, because we're not doing that in this pandemic. We're choosing the chemical solution. We're not
Exactly.
lifestyle issues that we have across the world in terms of obesity, in terms of hypertension, heart disease. So across the world, we are living out of balance, and that is not taken into consideration. And COVID can move through like wildfire because of that, because of how far we have moved from balance. And then the circadian rhythm, and not only that, but the climate change across the world.
Precisely.
And moving away from the vegan, which is perhaps one of the best diets, into the animal diet, where we consume more, we cut trees down animals, and we take the nutrition from the animals. No, poor. So we need to come back. So I believe a lot of what is happening in terms of the COVID to teach us how we go back to proper balance. That's why we have a cancer-ridden generation. And other chronic diseases are coming simply from lifestyle, processed food, poor habits. So we need a lot to do.
So it was a lovely session, interactive session with you, every one of you. My next client, which was supposed to come at 3, she is here. But I really enjoyed this session, and I hope sharing this also in future. With that note, I would like to thank you again, and please give me permission to go and attend. Thank you very much, Guruji.
Thank you so much. We have Teresa with a question, but we'll keep it for the next time he comes home. Right. So all blessings to you, Dr. Gupta.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now, I'm just going to, well, of course, I can stay on here for a few minutes, so you can feel free to converse with me, if you will. I do think this subject is an important one. And for my little knowledge of doshas, which I absolutely love, I think it's an important subject. Teresa, what was the question you were going to ask? I'm curious.
Like, yeah, I found the whole subject so fascinating, you know, and from the unified field and how precise, and that the universe is down to the smallest of the smallest within our individual bodies. And I was really interested in the doshas, and in terms of knowing myself, and, you know, for improving health. And what I was going to ask Dr. Gupta was regarding the lungs, for example. It's about which dosha that was. I thought he had said that it was pitta, but then when he spoke about about taking the pulse.
Vata dosha.
Yeah, Vata. Yes.
So the breathing fall under that as well, because it has to do with the air, right?
Yeah.
But the pitta would be more like the fiery things, like the digestive system and the more aggressive behavior. But of course, with the lung and breathing and air would fall more under Vata movement.
So for the next time, whenever he's speaking more about the doshas, I was wondering, would it be possible when he spoke about, taking the pulse with the index finger for Vata, the middle finger for Pitta, and the ring finger for Kapha, can we be taught to do that for ourselves?
Yeah, but that I'd be very cautious with that, as he said, because you can totally misinterpret. And unless you have real apprenticeship training with that, I would say, no, don't try to take it in. But he will advise.
Yeah. And the other thing is I wanted to ask him about was dairy, about taking dairy products, which are, milk and so on.
That's a good question, because ghee and dairy is very advised in Ayurveda. But it's a good question because I love vegan. So let's see how he will answer that. Good question.
Thank you.
Although there are some cultures like Sardinia in Italy, where it's a blue zone, where they thrive completely on milk. And one of the thinking is that if your generation before your family has been accustomed with cows and milk and all that we are more acclimatized to it. So I don't know how you can judge that. Because these Sardinians, they live long and they all drink milk and have the cheese and all the rest. So it's very interesting. Whether it's a mind over matter, whether it's a genes. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to close here, but it's a thrill for me. The subject of well-being is amazing. And of course, I know he took the scientific way, the modern scientific way, but that's the way of Mahesh organization. And it's lovely, but it would have lost some of us. So I apologize for that, but I totally benefited from it, and I will know how to bridge the gap. Yeah, thank you, Pina. And I know how to bridge the gap. So I'm looking forward to the next conversation with him, where we can really bridge a gap between simple thinking and the modern science. How we can really make it understandable. Okay, so I'm looking forward to that. So thank you all 51 of you for staying on. And let's close with a short meditation. Let's come into that space of the unified field, as he spoke about, where we are all one, or all resonate in oneness. Of course, as I always say, the true healer lies within, at the very center of being. Let's focus on the heart center and breathing into that. Opening up to love. Love is phenomenal. Its waves can flow through our being simply through the power of intention to love, and to love in and through your body, not just with the mind. Not just with the heart, but breathe into the gut and allow these waves of love to flow in and through the human body and every cell. You're not the body, but you live in the body. And it's so important to consider it your own. Breathe into the gut with total appreciation for every cell. That's how you can connect with that umbilical center. You can connect with the body in a more intimate way. I love you, my body. Let this vibrate within you. I truly appreciate you, my body. My every cell, you're so precious to me. Breathe into the gut lovingly. And bring in more oxygen to your body. And the more of us who open up our hearts to each other, stronger will be the space of coexistence. With every thought, with every intention, let love flow through your body. It's a quantum wave, an energy wave. Loving as you breathe in, loving as you breathe out. Loving as you open up your field to each one. And loving as you center in the very center of the consciousness. Om Sahana Bhavatu. May we be protected together in the divine. Sahana Bhavatu. May we be nourished together in the divine. Sahaviryam Karavavahe. May we be strengthened together in the divine. Tejas Vinavaditamastu. May our knowledge always be full of light, Sattva quality. Ma Vivishabhahe. May we all stay united in and with the divine. Oh, peace, Shanti, peace, Shanti, peace, Shanti. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. It's been a marvelous afternoon. A thrill for me, and we look forward to the next conversation. Have a great evening. Oh, great day wherever you are. Namaskar, everyone.